Elena Vasquez walked through the massive doors of the council chamber. The room was huge, bigger than any stadium on Earth. Lights from 47 different alien species filled the space with colors she had never seen before. Some delegates floated in the air. Others sat in tanks of water. A few were just balls of light that pulsed when they spoke. She was humanity's voice here, the only human among thousands of aliens who had traveled the stars for thousands of years. Earth had joined the Galactic Council only 15 years ago. To these ancient beings, humans were children, newcomers who knew nothing about the real galaxy. Elena took her seat in the human section. It was small, pushed to the back of the chamber. The important species sat at the front. The Kethrak, who looked like giant insects made of metal and crystal, controlled the center. Next to them were the Vorentine, beings of pure energy that changed shape constantly. The Saltine, who lived in water suits, managed most of the galaxy's trade. The Kethrak Primarch called the meeting to order. His voice was old and tired, like rocks grinding together. He had lived for 3,000 years and ruled the council for most of that time. When he spoke, everyone listened. "We have much to discuss today," the Primarch said. "Trade agreements, border disputes, mining rights." He looked at Elena. "And complaints from our newest members." Elena stood up. Her heart was beating fast, but she kept her voice steady. 7 human colony ships have disappeared in the past year. 40,000 people are missing. We asked for help 3 months ago. Nothing has been done. The Primarch's many eyes blinked slowly. "Space is dangerous, Ambassador. Ships are lost. This is the way of things." "Not like this," Elena said. She pulled up holographic images. All 7 ships sent their last transmission from the same region. The outer reaches near the mining world called Gehenna's Gate. Then nothing. No wreckage, no distress signals, just silence. A Saltine delegate raised a water-filled tentacle. "That region is known for gravitational anomalies. Your ships were likely destroyed by natural phenomena." "Then let us search for them," Elena said. "Let us send rescue missions." The Primarch shook his head. "The outer reaches are restricted. Mining operations there are sensitive. We cannot allow random ships to interfere with council business." "Council business?" Elena felt anger rising in her chest. "Those are our people, our families. And they chose to travel through dangerous space," the Primarch said. His voice was final. "The council will note your concern, but we cannot investigate every lost ship. The matter is closed." Elena wanted to argue more, but she knew it was useless. She had been a diplomat long enough to know when she was being dismissed. She sat down, her hands shaking with frustration. After the meeting ended, Elena walked through the station's observation deck. Through the massive windows, she could see Axis Prime below, a neutral world where no single species could claim power. Ships from across the galaxy came and went, their engines leaving trails of light against the darkness. Her communication device buzzed. The message was encrypted, sender unknown. Elena almost deleted it, but something made her open it instead. The message was simple. "They're lying to you. Gehenna's Gate, the truth is there. But hurry. They're watching everyone now." Crix, Elena knew that name. Crix was a Saltine trader who dealt in information. He sold secrets to anyone who could pay, not someone she would normally trust. But his message made her skin cold. She tried to reply, but the channel was dead. 2 hours later, the news feeds reported that Crix's ship had exploded near a fuel station. Authorities called it an accident. A fuel leak, they said. Elena didn't believe in coincidences. She contacted Admiral Marcus Chen on a secure channel. His face appeared on her screen, stern and serious. Chen commanded Earth's home fleet, the small collection of ships that protected human space. He had never trusted the Galactic Council. "I need a favor," Elena said. "A big one." Chen listened as she explained about the missing ships, the Primarch's dismissal, and Crix's message. When she finished, Chen was quiet for a long moment. "You're asking me to send a ship into restricted space," he said finally. "If the Council finds out, they'll use it as an excuse to punish us." "I know," Elena said. "But if there's even a chance those people are alive..." Chen nodded slowly. "I'll send the Prometheus. It's a research vessel, small and fast. If something goes wrong, I can claim it was a navigation error." He paused. "But Elena, if they find something, if this is what I think it might be, everything changes." "What do you think it is?" "I think the Council isn't what we believed it to be. I think we've been naive." 3 days later, the Prometheus reached Gehenna's Gate. The planet was dark red, covered in toxic clouds. Massive mining facilities dotted its surface, their lights visible even from orbit. The ship's captain, a woman named Rodriguez, ran every scan they had. What they found made them all sick. On the surface were camps. Prison camps surrounded by energy fences. The scans showed thousands of life signs, human life signs. They were working in the mines, exposed to deadly radiation. Most of them were dying slowly. Rodriguez sent a team down in a stealth shuttle. They landed near one of the camps and used cutters to breach the fence. What they saw would haunt them forever. Humans in torn clothes, their skin covered in burns and sores. Children no older than 10 carrying heavy equipment. Families separated into different sections. Guards watched them. Kethrak warriors with weapons that sparked with electricity. One of the prisoners saw the rescue team and started crying. "You came. We thought everyone forgot about us." "Never," Rodriguez said. "We're getting you out." They managed to save 200 people before the alarms went off. Kethrak warships appeared in orbit, dropping from faster-than-light travel. The Prometheus grabbed as many survivors as possible and ran. Behind them, the captain of one of the escort ships, a man named Stevens, stayed behind to give them time. His ship exploded in a ball of fire, but not before he sent a final transmission. "Tell Earth what they did," Stevens said, his voice crackling with static. "Tell them we don't forgive this, ever." The Prometheus jumped to faster-than-light speed and escaped. In their cargo holds, 200 survivors huddled together, free but traumatized. In the ship's computers was evidence. Videos, medical records, work logs, proof of what the Galactic Council had done. When Elena saw the footage, she couldn't speak. She just sat in her quarters and cried for an hour. Then she dried her eyes, straightened her uniform, and prepared to face the Council again. This time she wasn't asking for help. She was demanding justice, and if they refused, she would make sure every human in the galaxy knew what kind of monsters ruled the stars. The real fight was about to begin. Elena stood before the Galactic Council with 200 survivors behind her. Their burns and scars were visible to everyone. Children clung to their parents. Some people could barely stand. The evidence played on massive screens above them. Videos of the camps, medical records showing torture and experimentation, work logs that treated humans like equipment. The council chamber was silent. Even the Vorentine, who usually pulsed with constant energy, were still. "You enslaved our people," Elena said. Her voice was calm, but everyone could hear the rage underneath. "You took colonists, families, and children. You worked them to death in your mines, and when we asked for help finding them, you lied to us." The Kethrak Primarch watched the evidence with his many eyes. He didn't look surprised or ashamed. He looked annoyed, like someone had interrupted his day with minor problems. "Ambassador Vasquez," he said slowly, "you are correct that these people were detained. However, they were not colonists. They were criminals." Elena's mouth fell open. "What?" "The ships that entered the outer reaches violated council law," the Primarch explained. "That region is restricted. Anyone who enters without permission is guilty of trespassing and piracy. These people were sentenced to labor as punishment." "They didn't know the area was restricted," Elena said. "They were following old star charts. It was a mistake." "Ignorance of the law is not an excuse," a Vorentine delegate said. Its voice was like music, beautiful but cold. "The restrictions have been in place for 6,000 years. And you sentenced them without trial?" Elena pointed at a little girl in the survivors group. She was 7 years old and missing 2 fingers. "You sentenced children?" "Family units are kept together during labor sentences," the Saltine trade minister said, as if this explained everything. "It's more humane that way," Elena wanted to scream. She wanted to grab the Primarch and shake him until he understood. But she was a diplomat. She had to stay calm and use the system. "I demand a formal investigation," Elena said. "I demand these people be freed immediately. And I demand that those responsible face justice." The Primarch turned to the other council members. "We will vote on the human request." The vote took only minutes. When it was done, 38 species voted against the investigation. Only 9 voted with humanity. The Council's allies, species that humanity had helped with trade and technology, all voted no. They were too afraid to stand against the ancient powers. "The vote is decided," the Primarch announced. "No investigation will occur. However, as a gesture of goodwill, we will return the detained workers to human custody." Elena felt a tiny bit of hope. At least the survivors would go free. "In exchange," the Primarch continued, Humanity will pay reparations for the destruction of mining equipment during the illegal rescue operation. The cost is calculated at 5 trillion credits. Additionally, humanity will surrender its colony rights in sectors 7 through 23 and provide access to all advanced technology developed in the past 10 years. The hope died. Elena understood what they were doing. The price wasn't about money. It was about destroying humanity's future. Those sectors contained most of their colonies. The technology included their best defenses. If they agreed, humanity would be helpless, and if we refuse, Elena asked quietly. Then the Council will implement economic sanctions, the Primarch said. No species will trade with humanity. Your ships will be barred from Council space, and if you continue to resist, military action will be authorized. A Kethrak general stood up. He was massive, covered in weapons and armor. Your species is young, Ambassador. You have 15 ships that could fight. We have 10,000. Be wise. Elena looked at the survivors behind her. They had suffered so much. They deserved justice, but the Council was offering them cruelty wrapped in legal words. She thought about her orders from Earth. She was supposed to work within the system. Find compromise. Keep the peace. But some things couldn't be compromised. The Council has made its position clear, Elena said. Now let me make humanity's position clear. We will not pay your ransom. We will not surrender our colonies. And we will not forget what you've done to our people. The Primarch's eyes narrowed. You have 30 days to comply, Ambassador. Use that time to reconsider. I don't need 30 days, Elena said. I don't need 30 seconds. Our answer is no. Today, tomorrow, forever. No. She turned and walked out. The survivors followed her. Behind them, the Council erupted in angry buzzing, clicking, and pulsing lights. Let them be angry, Elena thought. She was done being diplomatic. The news spread across human space faster than light travel. Every human world received the evidence. They saw the camps. They saw the children. They saw the Council's cold dismissal of justice, and they saw Elena's refusal to bow. On Earth, crowds gathered in the streets, not to protest or riot, just to stand together and wait. Wait to see what their leaders would do. Would they surrender to save themselves? Or would they fight? Admiral Chen called an emergency meeting with Earth's military command. The room was filled with generals, admirals, and intelligence officers. The President of United Earth attended remotely, her face grim on the screen. Options, the President asked. We can comply, one general said. Give them what they want. Save what we can. And abandon 15,000 people still in those camps, another general snapped. Plus show every species in the galaxy that humans can be pushed around? We can't win a war against the Council, the first general argued. They have too many ships, Chen stood up. Maybe we can't win, but we can make them bleed. We can make them remember that humans don't go quietly. Admiral, the President said. What are you suggesting? Chen pulled up holographic displays. For the past 12 years since we joined the Council, I've been preparing for this day. I didn't trust them, so I built insurance. The displays showed shipyards hidden in asteroid belts, weapons factories on moons, training facilities in deep space, everything hidden from Council surveillance. We have 300 warships, Chen said. Not civilian vessels converted for defense. Real warships built for combat. We have weapons the Council has never seen. We have 5 million trained soldiers, and we have something else they don't have. What's that? The President asked. We have nothing to lose, Chen said. They think we'll surrender because we're scared. But they're wrong. They crossed the line when they took our people. Now they'll learn what humans do when you back us into a corner. The room was quiet. Everyone understood what Chen was suggesting. War, real war. Against an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 200,000 years. The President looked at each face on the screens. Every world leader, every military commander. We should put this to a vote. All human worlds. Let the people decide. The vote happened over 3 days. 94% of humanity voted the same way. The message was clear. They would fight. They would bleed. They would die if necessary. But they wouldn't abandon their people. Not ever. Elena delivered the final message to the Galactic Council. She stood alone this time, facing the thousands of aliens who thought they ruled the stars. We came to you in peace, Elena said. We wanted to be part of something greater. You betrayed that trust. You enslaved our people. You demanded we bow to injustice. Humanity's answer is no. She removed her ambassador badge and dropped it on the floor. The sound echoed through the silent chamber. We withdraw from the Galactic Council. We will free our people, and we will never forgive what you've done. Consider this your only warning. Stay away from human worlds, because if you come for us, we will show you what fury looks like. She walked out for the last time. Behind her, the Primarch called for order, but his voice was drowned out by chaos. The Council had never faced defiance like this. They didn't know what to do, but they would learn. Very soon they would learn. Admiral Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, humanity's first true warship. Around him, 300 vessels waited in the darkness of space. They had trained for this moment, prepared for it, feared it. Now it was here. All ships report ready, his tactical officer said. Chen nodded. He had spent 12 years building this fleet in secret, using asteroid bases where Council surveillance couldn't reach, mining resources from dead moons, training crews in deep space where no one would notice. The Council thought humanity had 15 defensive ships. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Begin Operation Fury, Chen said. Target Gehenna's Gate. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed. The Council had given humanity 30 days to surrender. Chen was giving them an answer in 4. On Earth, people gathered around screens to watch. Every human world did the same. They knew their military was moving. They knew war had begun. But they didn't know if their people would come home. Dr. Amira Okonkwo watched from her lab. She was a scientist, not a soldier. She had spent years studying alien life, making friends across the galaxy. She believed in peace and cooperation, but even she couldn't forgive what the Council had done. Sometimes, she thought, peace requires people willing to fight for it. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Gehenna's Gate system. The Kethrak garrison was expecting diplomats and lawyers. Instead, they saw 300 warships arranged in attack formation. The garrison commander sent a confused message. Unidentified vessels, you are in restricted space. Identify yourselves immediately. Chen's response was simple. We're here for our people. Get out of the way or be destroyed. The Kethrak didn't get out of the way. They had 50 warships and thought that was enough. They had shields designed to stop energy weapons, armor built to survive missile impacts, tactics perfected over thousands of years of warfare. They didn't expect railguns. Human ships opened fire with weapons that launched metal rods at incredible speeds. The rods punched through Kethrak shields like they weren't there. Ships split apart. Stations exploded. In the first 5 minutes, the garrison lost 20 vessels. The Kethrak commander finally understood. These weren't civilians playing at war. These were predators. He screamed orders to fall back, to regroup, to call for reinforcements. But human ships were already moving, already firing, already everywhere at once. Marine assault ships landed on the planet's surface. Lieutenant Sarah Kim led her squad through the same camps where prisoners had suffered. This time they came with weapons and armor and fury. The Kethrak guards tried to fight back. They were good soldiers, well-trained and fearless. But the Marines had something to fight for. Every prisoner they saw, every child they freed made them fight harder. Kim found a Kethrak officer trying to delete computer records. She shot the consul and grabbed him by his armored throat. Where are the other camps? She demanded. The Kethrak clicked his mandibles in their version of laughter. You think this is the only one? We have camps on 30 worlds. You can't save them all. Kim hit him hard enough to crack his helmet. Watch us. 4 hours after the battle began, it was over. Every Kethrak ship was destroyed or captured. Every camp was liberated. 15,000 humans were freed, along with thousands of prisoners from other species. The galaxy learned something important that day. Humans didn't make threats they wouldn't keep. Chen broadcast the footage everywhere. Freed prisoners hugging their rescuers. Destroyed slave camps burning. Kethrak warships floating dead in space. His message was only 3 words long. This is beginning. The Galactic Council emergency session was chaos. Species shouted at each other in 100 different languages. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others urged caution. A few very quietly wondered if the Council had finally pushed too far. The Kethrak general who had threatened Elena slammed his weapon on the floor. They attacked our forces, destroyed our property. This cannot stand. I demand we mobilize the full Council armada. To do what? A small delegate asked nervously. They knew exactly where to hit us. How many other secrets do they know? How many hidden ships do they have? It doesn't matter, the general growled. We have 10,000 ships. They have hundreds. Numbers will crush them. The Primarch raised his hand for silence. When he spoke, his ancient voice was cold with anger. The humans have made themselves enemies of the Council. All member species are authorized to attack human vessels. Trade with humanity is forbidden. Any species that helps them will face the same punishment. He turned his many eyes to the displays showing human ships. We will gather the armada. We will surround their worlds. And we will show them what happens when children challenge their elders. If they want war, we will give them extinction. The Council voted. Only 12 species voted against war. The rest wanted blood. On Earth, Chen addressed the fleet. The Council is mobilizing. 10,000 ships will come for us. They'll hit our colonies, attack our trade routes, and eventually strike Earth itself. He paused, looking at the faces of his crew, young and old, veterans and new recruits, all of them knowing what was coming. We can't match their numbers, Chen continued. But we don't need to. We just need to make them hurt. Every ship they lose, every attack they fail, makes other species question whether the Council can protect them. We're not fighting to conquer the galaxy. We're fighting to be free. While the military prepared, Dr. Okonkwo worked on a different kind of weapon. She reached out to her contacts across the galaxy. Scientists and researchers who believed the Council had gone too far. She shared the evidence of the slave camps. Not just human prisoners, but aliens from dozens of species. This could be your people next time, she told them. The Council uses laws to justify evil. Today it's humans. Tomorrow it's you. Her message spread through underground networks. On 40 worlds, protests began. Small at first, just a few people holding signs. But seeds of doubt once planted grow quickly. The Saltine were the first to notice. They controlled most galactic trade and could see the pattern. Shipping routes were becoming unstable. Insurance costs were rising. War was expensive and it would cost them trillions. A Saltine merchant prince named Vothis sent Elena a secret message. This war is bad for business. What would it take for humanity to accept peace? Elena's response was simple. Justice, freedom for all slaves, trials for those responsible, and the right to defend ourselves, nothing less. The Council will never agree to that, Vothis said. Then the war continues, Elena replied, and your profits disappear. Vothis thought about this for a long time. He was a businessman, not a warrior. He could see that humanity wouldn't surrender, and a war without end would destroy the trade networks that made him wealthy. He began talking to other Saltine, quietly, carefully, planning for the day when they might need to choose between the Council and their credits. Meanwhile, 3 other species watched everything with growing interest. The Arxen, the Hollows, and the Meridian Collective had their own grievances with the Council, old injustices they had been forced to accept. Now they saw humans fighting back and winning. If humans could do it, maybe they could too. The galaxy was changing. The old order that had existed for 200,000 years was starting to crack. And in the command center of the Indomitable, Admiral Chen watched his tactical displays and smiled grimly. Let them come, he told his officers. Let them bring their 10,000 ships. We'll show them that humans don't surrender. We don't bow. And we sure as hell don't forgive. The Council Armada was 3 weeks away. 3 weeks to prepare. 3 weeks to get ready for the biggest battle humanity had ever fought. 3 weeks until they learned what fury really meant. The Council Armada arrived like a dark cloud blotting out the stars. 10,000 ships from 30 different species, each one armed with weapons that could destroy cities. They formed a line stretching across space, facing the boundary of human territory. Admiral Chen watched them come. His fleet was positioned along what they called the Terran Line. 300 warships backed by defensive stations, minefields, and drone swarms. It wasn't enough. Everyone knew it, but they would fight anyway. The Kethrak general commanded the armada from his flagship, a massive vessel the size of a small moon. He sent a final message to Chen. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Resist and we will make examples of your worlds. Chen's response was to open fire. Human railguns spoke first, launching metal rods at relativistic speeds. The front line of the armada exploded as rounds tore through shields and armor. 50 ships died in the first salvo, but 50 more took their place. Then 100 more. The armada kept coming like an ocean wave, endless and unstoppable. The battle became chaos. Ships fought at point-blank range. Explosions lit up the darkness. Debris from destroyed vessels created hazards for everyone. The defensive stations proved to be mobile, repositioning constantly to avoid concentrated fire. Human captains used tactics the Council had never seen. False retreats, ambushes, coordinated strikes that targeted support ships instead of capital vessels. Lieutenant Sarah Kim commanded a boarding party that took over a Kethrak supply ship. They didn't destroy it. They reprogrammed its identification codes and sent it back to the Armada's supply lines. 3 hours later, it detonated near a fuel depot. The explosion destroyed 40 ships at once. "That's for the children in the camps," Kim said quietly. The first week of battle cost the Council 1,400 ships. Human losses were 89 vessels. The numbers looked good on paper, but Chen knew they couldn't sustain this. The Council could replace their ships. Humanity couldn't. Then the Vorantine tried something new. The Vorantine were beings of pure energy, capable of existing inside computer systems. They had never used this ability in war before, considering it beneath them, but desperation breeds innovation. A Vorantine entity infiltrated the Indomitable's main computer, intending to shut down life support. Instead, it encountered something unexpected: a human hacker named Marcus Reed and an AI named Ares working together. Reed had been a criminal before the war, arrested for breaking into corporate systems. Now he was humanity's best digital weapon, and Ares was an AI that had developed something no alien AI had: personality, humor, and anger. The Vorantine entity tried to overwhelm Ares with logic puzzles, but Ares responded with memes, paradoxes, and illogical arguments that made no sense but worked anyway. The Vorantine, used to purely logical systems, couldn't adapt. "Yo, Sparkle friend," Ares said in digital space. "Did you ever consider that maybe you're just a really confused flashlight?" The Vorantine entity froze, trying to process the statement. In that moment, Reed trapped it in an isolated system. Then Ares weaponized it, corrupting its code with human creativity and chaos. They sent it back to the Vorantine command ships. The corrupted entity spread like a virus through the Vorantine fleet. Ships stopped responding to commands. Some flew in circles. Others just turned off. The entire Vorantine force, 2,000 ships strong, withdrew from the battle in confusion. It was the first time the Vorantine had been defeated in 50,000 years. While the battle raged, Dr. Okonkwo worked her own kind of warfare. She had convinced 300 alien scientists to speak out against the Council. They published research showing that the slave labor system had existed for millennia, targeting dozens of species. The Council had always claimed these were legal labor sentences, but the evidence proved otherwise. More importantly, she reached out to the Saltine merchant Prince Vothis. "Your people control the supply lines, keeping the Armada fed. Without you, this war ends," Vothis calculated the numbers. The war was already costing him more than he could make in a decade. And if humanity actually won, which was starting to look possible, they would remember who stood against them. "What guarantee do I have?" Vothis asked. "If we help you, the Council will turn on us." "Then help us win quickly," Okonkwo said. "Join us, bring your fleets. End this before more people die." After 2 days of discussion with other Saltine leaders, Vothis made his choice. The Saltine fleet, 1,500 ships strong, withdrew from the Armada. More than that, they blocked the supply routes through their territory. The Armada's logistical support collapsed overnight. The Kethrak general screamed in rage when he learned of the betrayal, but there was nothing he could do. Half his ships were running low on fuel and ammunition. His attack stalled. That's when 3 other species made their move. The Arcs in the Hollows and the Meridian Collective had been watching. They saw humans fighting back and winning. They saw the Saltine abandon the Council without punishment. They saw the Ancient Order cracking. They declared independence from the Council and asked humanity for help liberating their own people from similar camps. Suddenly, the Council was fighting on 5 fronts instead of 1. The Kethrak general made a desperate decision. He would attack Axis Prime itself, the symbolic heart of the Council. If he could hold it, he could force the rebellious species back in line and crush humanity's hope. Admiral Chen saw the Armada moving and understood immediately. They're going for Axis Prime. If they get there, they'll use it to legitimize their authority. Then we get there first, his tactical officer said. That's exactly what they want, Chen replied. They're better at defending than attacking. But if we can beat them there, take Axis Prime from them, The galaxy will see the Council is finished. The human fleet jumped to faster than light speed, racing the Armada to Axis Prime. They arrived 6 hours ahead and found the planet defended by the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. Orbital platforms with shields that could stop anything. Planetary cannons that could destroy capital ships. Automated defenses that had never failed in 10,000 years. How do we crack this? Captain Rodriguez asked from her ship. Chen stared at the defenses and made a decision he would regret for the rest of his life. We need volunteers for a one-way mission. Silence filled the communication channels. Then Captain Sarah Osi spoke up. I'll do it. Captain, Chen began. My crew already voted, Ose said. We talked about it last night. Someone has to do this. Might as well be us. Her ship, the Valiant, was loaded with antimatter bombs. Enough explosive power to crack a moon. The plan was simple and terrible. Fly straight at the shield generator and detonate on impact. The Valiant accelerated toward Axis Prime. Defense platforms fired everything they had. Osi's crew took turns piloting, replacing those who fell wounded. The ship's hull burned away. Life support failed, but they kept going. In the last moments, Ose recorded a message. Tell my daughter I love her. Tell Earth we did our duty. And tell the Council. This is what happens when you make humans choose between surrender and sacrifice. We choose sacrifice every time. The Valiant hit the shield generator at full speed. The antimatter detonated. The explosion was visible from orbit. A miniature sun that lasted 3 seconds. When it faded, the shields were down. 300 crew members were gone, including Captain Ose. The human fleet poured through the gap. They didn't occupy Axis Prime. They just broadcast live footage from the Council chambers themselves, showing the galaxy that the invincible Council could bleed. When the Kethrak general arrived 12 hours later, he found human ships in orbit and his political masters in chaos. Species were arguing. Some wanted to negotiate. Others demanded the war continue. A few suggested abandoning the Council entirely. The general decided to end it with one stroke. He ordered a planetary bombardment of Earth itself. Kill billions. Make humanity's victory meaningless through genocide. But when he gave the order, half his fleet refused. They had seen too much death. They knew the war was lost. Some were simply too afraid of what humanity would do in revenge. The Council, united for 200,000 years, fractured in front of the entire galaxy. And in that moment, everyone knew the old order was dead. Elena Vasquez walked through the ruined Council chambers. Smoke still drifted from damaged systems. The great seats of power sat empty. The species that had ruled for 200,000 years were hiding in their ships, afraid to show their faces. She found the Kethrak Primarch in a small observation room, looking out at the stars. He seemed smaller now, older. His ancient armor was scratched and dented. When he turned to face her, his many eyes were tired. Come to celebrate your victory? The Primarch asked. No, Elena said. I came to talk about what happens next. The Primarch made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. Next? There is no next. You've destroyed everything. The order we built, the peace we maintained. When we fall, chaos will consume the galaxy. You didn't maintain peace, Elena said, sitting down across from him. You maintained fear. You called enslavement justice. You punished anyone who questioned you. That's not peace. That's tyranny. And you think you can do better? The Primarch's voice was bitter. Your species has been in space for less than a century. You know nothing about governing thousands of worlds. You're right, Elena admitted. We don't know everything. But we know that power without accountability is evil. We know that justice matters more than order, and we know that every species deserves freedom. The Primarch was quiet for a long time. Outside the window, ships from dozens of species circled, waiting to see what would happen next. The galaxy was holding its breath. What do you want? The Primarch finally asked. End the war, Elena said. Free all the slaves. Put the people responsible on trial. And help us build something better than the Council. And if I refuse? Elena met his eyes. Then Admiral Chen will finish what we started. We fought the biggest fleet in the galaxy and we're still here. If you make us choose between peace and justice, we'll choose justice. Even if it means burning everything down. The Primarch understood then. Humanity wasn't bluffing. They would keep fighting until they won or died trying. And with half the galaxy already in rebellion, continuing the war would only spread the destruction. You've taken everything from me, the Primarch said quietly. My authority, my legacy. The order I spent 3,000 years building. You took it from yourself, Elena replied. When you decided that might makes right. When you chose cruelty over compassion. We just showed the galaxy what you really were. The next day, representatives from 60 species gathered on Axis Prime. The Vorentine came, curious and analytical. The Saltine came, seeing opportunity and change. Even the Kethrak came, though they sat in the back and spoke little. The negotiations lasted 3 weeks. Some species wanted revenge against the Council. Others wanted to restore the old system with minor reforms. A few wanted to go home and pretend none of this happened. Elena stood before them all and laid out humanity's terms. No more slavery. No more forced labor. No more calling evil justice because it's wrapped in legal language. Every species has the right to defend themselves. Every species gets equal representation. And no one, no matter how old or powerful, is above the law. A small delegate from a species humanity had never met stood up. The humans are right. My people suffered under council law for 10,000 years. We stayed quiet because we were afraid. But seeing humans fight back gave us courage. We want the same rights they're demanding. Another delegate agreed. Then another. Soon half the room was speaking up, sharing stories of injustice and oppression that the council had hidden for millennia. The Kethrak representatives tried to argue, but their voices were drowned out. The Vorentine, ever logical, calculated that resistance was futile and agreed to the new terms. The Saltine enthusiastically supported any system that improved trade. The Treaty of New Dawn was signed 4 weeks after the battle ended. Its main points were simple. The Galactic Council was dissolved. In its place, the Galactic Confederation would be formed. Every member species had equal voting rights. All slavery and forced labor was banned. War criminals would face trial. Humanity received full sovereignty and reparations for their people. And most importantly, no species could claim authority over another. The cost of victory became clear in the days after. 47,000 human military personnel had died. 8 colony worlds were heavily damaged. The economy would take decades to recover. Every human world held memorial services for the fallen. Captain Sarah Osei's name was the first inscribed on the Monument of Heroes on Earth. Her daughter, only 12 years old, touched the quantum storage that preserved her mother's memory. Did she have to die? The girl asked Elena. Elena knelt beside her. Your mother chose to save millions of people. That's what heroes do. They sacrifice so others can be free. I wish she had chosen me instead, the girl whispered. Elena had no answer for that. Some prices were too high, even in victory. Admiral Chen retired with full honors. His body was scarred from the war, but his spirit was at peace. He had done what he promised, made the council bleed, and earned humanity's freedom. At his retirement ceremony, he gave a short speech. We didn't win because we were stronger. We won because we were desperate. Because we refused to accept injustice. Because we proved that sometimes the only way to get peace is to be willing to fight for it. Dr. Okonkwo received the Galactic Peace Prize, the first human ever honored. She used her acceptance speech to call for unity. We fought a war. We won our freedom. Now comes the harder part, building trust. The old council failed because they ruled through fear. Let's build something better. Something based on cooperation, not domination. 5 years later, Elena stood in the new Confederation Hall, watching representatives from 80 species debate a proposal for collective exploration of uncharted space. They argued and disagreed, but they also listened and compromised. It was messy and slow and frustrating. It was also beautiful. A young Kethrak diplomat approached her. He was from a new generation, one that had grown up after the war. Ambassador Vasquez, I wanted to apologize for what my people did. You weren't responsible, Elena said gently. I know, but someone needs to say it. We were wrong. We used our age to justify cruelty. We called it order when it was really oppression. He hesitated. Are we forgiven? Elena thought about Captain Osei, about the children in the camps, about the 47,000 who died. Forgiveness is earned, not given. Your generation has a chance to prove you're different from those who came before. Show us through actions, not words. The young Kethrak nodded seriously and walked away. Elena watched him go, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. The galaxy was changing. Human technology became highly sought after, but humans also shared medical advances, agricultural techniques, and cultural exchanges. Earth became a hub where species that had never trusted each other could meet on neutral ground. The Kethrak withdrew into isolation, their empire diminished but surviving. Some of their leaders faced trial for war crimes. Others fled to the Outer Rim. The species as a whole was learning humility, though the lesson came hard. The Vorentine adapted to the new reality with their usual logic. They became valued advisors to the Confederation, offering analysis and mediation. They never apologized for their role in the war, but they never repeated their mistakes either. The Saltine thrived in the new order. With stable trade and no fear of arbitrary council laws, their economy boomed. Vodis became one of the wealthiest beings in the galaxy and humanity's strongest economic ally. Elena looked out at the assembled species and remembered the day she had first entered the old council chambers. She had been so hopeful then, believing in cooperation and peace. The galaxy had taught her a harsh lesson. Sometimes peace requires war. Sometimes justice demands fury, but the war was over now. The fury had passed. What remained was the hard work of building something better. She thought about humanity's journey from Earth to the stars. They had come seeking friendship and found slavery. They had asked for justice and received contempt. They had been forced to fight a war they didn't want, but they had won. And more importantly, they had shown the galaxy that even the most powerful can fall when they forget that might doesn't make right. Elena smiled to herself. Humanity had exploded with fury when the line was crossed. They had burned away the old order. Now they would help build something new, something better, something that remembered the price of freedom and valued it accordingly. The galaxy would never forget what happened when humans said no, and that was exactly how it should be.